What's that? Oh, a former Bush official came out saying that they built an underground city secretly for $21 trillion. Okay. Yeah, her name is Catherine Austin Fitts. Now, she says that it's not just your regular just tunnel with a bunch of concrete and it's just kind of plain Jane. No, she said this is a luxury city built under the United States. Okay. She said that these cities even go out under the ocean. Okay. She said that this was built specifically for the rich in case there was an extinction event for humankind. Which leads us to believe that they know something that we don't. She stated that the transportation down there is way more advanced than the transportation we have up here. Oh boy. She said that it has everything we have up here, but it's way nicer, and they even have schools, hospitals, and jails. Oh boy.
Buckle up, family. We're getting ready to take a wild ride into the minds of the elite. This lady, Catherine Austin Fitts, is going to be sharing some very important truths that we must all understand. Some important truths about how the world really works. And it's unfortunate that too many people are blinded, but don't let that person be you. Take a listen.
But there is a history of near extinction events. And one of the things that I've looked at, because I'm trying to figure out, between fiscal 1998 and fiscal 2015, there were 21 trillion of undocumentable adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.solera.com, we have years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where's all this money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all this money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. And
I'm sorry?
Yes. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground bases and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are some of these are documented as part of the national security infrastructure. I think there are many more. So
in the United States?
In the United States, on all over the world. But from 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Solera Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. And then we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess. This is totally a guess of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground under the ocean around the United States. And our estimate was 170. With a transportation network connecting them.
And what would be the purpose?
The purpose, if you thought you were going to get a near extinction event, so there, to me, there are two purposes. You have so many activities going on that you need to keep secret, that you're basically building the capacity to, for example, if you're doing a secret space program, you need to platform it from, things that can't be seen. But I think if you're worried about a near extinction event, that's.
So I know nothing about this other than my only window into it. I knew a contractor who worked on one in Washington, in the city of Washington, D.C.
Right.
And I remember him telling me about a power box, like a transformer box on Constitution Avenue that he told me, because he worked on it personally, was actually the exit, the egress from the White House. That was kind of by vehicle. I thought that was, I was like, really? He goes, oh, yeah, no, I installed it. I know. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy that in the middle of this big city where I live, I was on Constitution Avenue every day, that you could build something like that without me knowing it. Under the VP's house at the Naval Observatory, same thing. I think most people know that. Next to my brother's house on Macomb Street in D.C. But that's, I always thought that was like preparation for nuclear war. Like, I didn't really think about it that much.
Some of it is, it's preparation for catastrophe.
So, but you think that there are facilities like that in other places outside D.C.?
Oh, yeah. So if you're interested, we have a great interview. I did an interview of Richard Dolan on underground bases on the Solera Report, and it's sort of an introduction to the topic, and it's based on a lot of the research of a guy named Richard Sauter, who is very hard to interview. So Richard kind of went through all the material, and clearly it's. I don't know if you ever saw Washington Post did a project. It was in 2010 or 12 called Top Secret America. And one of the reporters, it was a team of 2 reporters, one of them put together a database of all the different top secret installations that had been built in the country, including since the Patriot Act. And what you saw was just this explosion of money in building so many both underground and above ground facilities.
They're basically a city underground. Now there are 131 active deep underground military bases in the United States. There's 1,477 of them worldwide. What you call high-tech. We have nothing like this on the surface. These mega bases has an average cost of $17 to $19 billion. And the black budget is dead wrong. It sidesteps the United States Congress and its Constitution of its people and says you're a bunch of morons you don't need to know.
You can go from New York to Brazil, Buenos Aires, and then Antarctica without ever coming up to the surface for air. And you can do it all at way more than 1,000 miles an hour on magnetic levitation trains, otherwise called maglev. One thing he told me, he went from Virginia to Los Angeles in 45 minutes. Do the math, 3,000 miles an hour. Most people don't even believe that there's a tunnel network. There are there are hundreds of thousands of miles of tunnel system.
The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith Yahuwah Oluwa concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahuwah, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made you small among the heathen. You are greatly despised. The pride of your heart has deceived you. You that dwell in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Though you exalt yourself as the eagle, and though you set your nest among the stars, thence I will bring you down, saith Yahuwah. If thieves came to you, if robbers by night, how are you cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough? If the grape gatherers came to you, would they have not left some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of your confederacy have brought you even to the border. The men that were at peace with you have deceived you and have prevailed against you. They that eat your bread have laid a wound under you. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahuwah, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? And your mighty men, O Timon, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter, for your violence against your brother Jacob. Shame shall cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. In that day you stood on the other side, and that day strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. For the day of Yahuwah is near upon all the heathen. As you have done, it shall be done unto you. Your reward shall return upon your own head. For as you've drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Every wicked scheme that the heathen imagine in their hearts, the Most High has already recorded in his word, has already set their judgment in place. So it's no surprise that she's saying that underground tunnels have been built. We've known about these underground tunnels for a while, but to hear a whistleblower speak to the reality of these underground tunnels, it's just confirmation of what's in the word. But she has some other things that are important to say, and things that are prophetic, things that people need to be aware of, that they're still blinded to. Take a listen.
Trump was put in by the bankers to get the control grid. He is moving very, very fast. First, he's getting the Real ID implemented, very aggressively. Real ID. To do a control grid, you need a very high quality precision national ID. And he's got Kristi Noem out there pushing the Real ID like there's no tomorrow. The feds are pushing it. The second thing you need is an all digital financial system. So you got to kill cash and you got to make everybody interact digitally. He's canceled pennies, but he's also canceled now. Normally I pay my taxes with paper, and now he's saying, no, you got to do everything digital. He's trying to, if you go through that list, I've got 50 different items of what he's doing. If you think this is improvement, you have another thing coming. This is going to be the digital equivalent of the pallets of cash sent to Iraq. You're literally going to tender for the global population, try and get everybody off of their local currency into stable coins, and you're going to pump out massive amounts of private credit to make it really attractive.
And you don't think the BRICS would try to compete with this?
I think as soon as you pass the Genius Act, it can go very, very fast. You could really see the world rock. Trump and Musk are implementing the control grid at high speed. To do a control grid, we need a digital ID implemented that's very high quality, high precise. Check the box. We need an all digital financial system. Check the box. We need a way of doing interoperable money. Check the box. We need a social credit system. To me, I want to build a social credit system that can be used to enforce control against the American people and basically lock them down with both enforcement and social credit. I would privatize it. I would just take it and put it in private AI with XAI and Palantir AI.
The wicked are imagining in their hearts to do evil to all the nations of this world. But it's important for those of us who are born again of the house of Yasharel, as well as the grafted in Gentiles, to understand that the portion that is set up for the world is not set up for us. What Yasharel has to remember is that the reward of the wicked is going to be double on their heads to what they gave us. And if we remember during the time of slavery that we were boxed in, we were told where we could go and where we couldn't, and we were treated like chattel or cattle. And essentially that is what's getting ready to happen to the world system. So what we're seeing is the beginning of the end for the world system as is. And she's going to actually go into a deeper understanding of how the system is going to be set up.
What did he say?
He said if Trump thinks he's going to contradict or defy the CIA, he's streaming. They have 50 ways from Sunday to get you.
Oh, you want to know what I've always wanted to know while you're talking about this ability of the CIA to take anybody out? I was just curious, who they legit work for, because I know it's not us, right? Obviously.
Right. And traditionally, if you look at the U.S. intelligence agencies, they basically work for the central bankers. So what's happening is we're watching a re-engineering of this fiscal line. And you're basically looking at the central bankers moving to put into place a system that will allow them to extract tax without representation. So that's the trick financially. How do you force the citizens to pay taxes with no representation? And of course, what they're using the pandemic to do is to roll in the system that will make it possible for them to achieve it. So I'm always quoting Naomi Wolf, who's done a very good job of describing this, and she said, passports are the end of human liberty in the West, and she's right.
Wait. Keep going. Sorry. What?
Because it's not really, it's ultimately what it's going to evolve into is a financial transaction system where basically if you don't behave, the central banks can take money right out of your account. They can stop you from transacting. So there's a great, I think we talked about it last time, there's a great panel that the IMF did with Carstens, who's the general manager of the Bank of International Settlements, and Jay Powell, who's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. And they're talking about central bank digital currencies. And Carson says, well, the great thing about central bank digital currencies, if you don't want citizens of another country to transact, you can just shut off their ability to transact. And Powell kind of blanches because he knows what that means is, oh, you can cut off anybody's ability to transact.
What happens if you just want total control?
If you want complete control, then you want transactional control, but you want transactional control broken down into into both space and function. So let me tell you what I mean by that. I want the ability to say you can only transact 5 miles from your home. So I want you not to be able to travel. Okay, so your electric car or your driverless car can't go more than 5 miles from your home. Okay, but you can't do anything beyond 5 miles. So one is spatial control, but the other is function. You're not allowed to spend money on these items as opposed to other items. So we don't want you eating fresh food. We want you eating, synthetic foods from Bill Gates's companies. So you can only transact according to what we dictate is, approved. I've always assumed that Bitcoin was a prototype.
You see, Catherine Fitz understands what most people are failing to realize. They have turned their eyes and they have pretended to be blind, calling things conspiracy theories. But she goes into deeper depth because it's not just about the CIA or Trump or any of these oligarchs or any of the one percenters on top. She speaks to the reality of who's really controlling the systems of this world. And the interesting thing is that she lines it right up with everything that we've been saying this entire time. It's all in the Word. Turn the pages of the Word and you're going to turn the pages of the world. Take a listen.
If you look at all the paranormal phenomena on this planet, I've tried to understand it and figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I can't figure it out. Mm-hmm. But I've been through most of the material. Farrell and I did a great 2-hour interview called Who is Mr. Global? Mm-hmm. And we went through every different hypotheses.
What do you mean? Can you define Mr. Global?
It's the committee that runs the world. So there's a committee at the top that makes all the big decisions. And my nickname for it is Mr. Global. So the question is, who is Mr. Global and why is Mr. Global doing what he's doing? Because when I look at a situation, I like to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Like if I was Danny and I was doing this, what would it look like from my point of view? Mm. And so I want to put myself in why is Mr. Global doing this? What's Mr. Global's point of view? So anyway, Joseph and I went through and did Who is Mr. Global and why is he doing what he's doing? So we went through all the theories, but some of my favorite comments on the internet is they'll say, well, she worked at the White House and she knows, so she's not telling us. It's like, no, everybody at the White House is not sure.
Who's your best guess of who Mr. Global is?
I think you have intergenerational pools of capital, and right now they are over influenced by occult. So I think you have interdimensional intelligence, which is operating demonic intelligence.
Interdimensional demonic intelligence.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. So I think this thing about good and evil is real, and I can't find it anymore. I found it once. There were in the 1930s, a British physicist got up and said, we are being manipulated, but from other dimensions by intelligent beings from other dimensions. So I think if you study Christianity and you read the Bible, you're dealing with both divine intelligence and demonic intelligence. And I think too much of the leadership has gotten deeply involved in the occult and demonic kinds of intelligence.
Wow.
You see, most people don't want to understand how this world really works. This world is spiritual before it is physical. And unfortunately, people think that it's a game. We have been so programmed by media to think that everything that we see is entertainment purposes only. But this is not about entertainment, but this is about detainment. And the powers of this world are taking their cues from the cults of the underworld. They're taking it from the satanic systems that have been built from before antiquity, from before any of us understood what life was, period, because we were not on this earth. And so we are seeing that the cultish behavior is not of their own intellectual capacity, but is of the demonic realm that has been given to them by a wisdom that is satanic. And that's what she's exposing. Let's continue to listen in so that she can give more detail, because remember, this is a woman who was directly in the Bush administration to be able to see the goings on of what's really happening that so many people turn a blind eye to.
So I just read a book and I have no idea. So I've tried to find every theory to explain the paranormal stuff. So I'm not telling you this is true, but I just finished reading a book called Final Event by Nick Redfern. I don't know if you've ever read it. Mm-mm. And he describes it's a exploration of a group of military intelligence in the United States called the Collins elite.
Oh yeah, I've heard about the Collins
Yeah.
elite. Yeah.
And they came to believe that the ET phenomena was a demonic phenomena. It was not people from another planet. It was demonic
It was
intelligence.
biblical stuff.
Right. Right. And one of the things he discovered was that, or the Collins elite apparently discovered, is in many sort of ET abduction events, if you called on Jesus Christ, it would stop.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, she is 100% accurate on this. Many years ago, I watched multiple videos of people saying the same exact thing, that when they had a UFO encounter and when they called on the name of Jesus Christ, that demon would flee. And I know those of us who use the actual name of the Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, we know that there is power in his Hebrew name. However, there are so many people that do not know the name Yahushua HaMashiach. All they know is Jesus Christ, and that is the name that they have been using to make devils flee. So I don't get overly obsessed when it comes to people saying Jesus Christ, because I know that for many years before I knew his Hebrew name, all I knew was Jesus, and that's the name that I cast demons out in. And of course, his Hebrew name, there's more power, in my opinion, from actual use of his name, Yahushua HaMashiach, to cast out demons than there is in the name of Jesus. However, I have definitely heard that there is still power in that name for people to use and to cast out these UFO demons. And ultimately, I believe that goes back to the fact that the Most High knows exactly who knows what. I don't believe that this is an argument for Jesus over Yahushua, because I believe that he knows exactly what his son's name was and who he is. However, I believe that he wingset our ignorance for a season, and there are people who are still ignorant of who he is as a Hebrew Messiah. And so, because their hearts are for him, but they're lacking knowledge, he grants them the answer to their prayers. But make no mistake, he wants us to grow in knowledge and understanding of who he is. But that's my thoughts about why the name of Jesus still cast out demons.
That's what he reported. And he strikes me, I don't know anything about him, but it struck me as someone who was trying to do a faithful job of simply reporting what they found.
You know, there's a lot of folks in the intelligence community that publicly state how they believe that the whole UFO phenomena is like this biblical thing, how it's angels and demons, and these things could be angelic entities, and, you know, like literal, like ground, like legitimate people in the intelligence community, whether they're still active or retired or whatever, that have been on podcasts that state they believe this.
So I am sure that all of that stuff is happening. So I think we are dealing with demonic and angelic forces.
Now, where I would always caution people to understand is that even with whistleblowers and even with those who are speaking somewhat truthfully, we have to be careful, because they are going to speak on certain aspects of truth that they're allowed to speak on, but they're not going to give the entirety of the truth. They're going to present enough truth in order for people to latch on to their words, and for people to essentially follow them, for people to begin to look at them as though they are a truth teller. And that's exactly what needs to happen, because if you want to hook a fish, you have to have the right bait. And truth in a day of lies and deception is perfect bait for those who don't want to be deceived. But we have to remember that there's a measure of truth that comes out of all of these systems and the people that work in these systems, including Catherine Fitz. So don't take every word that she says and run with it and then hold her to a standard as though she is the person who should be looked at. I see people doing that all the time with people who are controlled opposition, like Candace Owens. You have to test the spirit by the spirit. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what her fruit is outside of her saying, well, this is what I see, and this is what I see here, and this is what I see there. But nevertheless, I do take some of the things that she said and say, okay, well, there is absolute validity to your accounts here. However, I'm still going to side-eye you. And I'm going to side-eye you because you have an open platform to say these things and no one has shut you down yet. So the question is, why have you not been shut down? But one final thing that she has to say that I'm going to share today is something that I can 100% agree on. And I think that we need to be mindful of it, especially for the time that we're living in, especially for those of us of the household of faith.
Made a real study of how divide and conquer works. It's one of the, if you listen to the deep state tactics, it's one of the most successful tactics. You know, we are facing a tsunami of divide and conquer. Most important divide and conquer to reverse is the divide and conquer between men and women. And one of the reasons there's such an effort to destroy the family is because it's easy to trick a man and it's easy to trick a woman. It is almost impossible to trick a man and woman working together. I really suggest getting back to freedom is one person at a time.
So my final assessment of the information that Catherine Fitts has released to the public is that we listen, but we remember that we put our faith and trust in Yah. We put our faith and trust in Yahuwah. We do not put our faith and trust in man and his systems or anything that he has to push forward. Why? Because we know that the systems of this world work in multiple forms of confusion. Remember that this is the Babylonian system, and Babel means confusion. So you might think that you're on one track that's right, listening to this one person or that one person over there. But remember, as the Apostle Paul said, that we are supposed to be as Bereans, going into the Word, searching it out for ourselves, that the Ruach HaKodesh will lead and guide us into all truth. So yes, I'm glad that she's speaking to these things that are very important and impactful for us to understand on a spiritual, technological, financial aspect. But we must understand ultimately that Yahuwah has already told us in his word what is going to happen. And so do not forsake reading his word for yourself and being prepared spiritually for what is to come. Because at the end of the day, he has told us when it comes to his people that he is the one who's going to regather us from the four corners of the earth, and that the systems of this world, the Babylonian people, the Babylonian ways, they will crumble under Revelation 18 tactics, because he has declared the judgments of this world. So let me know what you think in the comment section below about everything that you heard. Like, share, subscribe if you have not already done so, and don't forget to hit that notification bell on your right. And I look forward to meeting with you all again. Family, we must contend for the faith. We must stand tall, even in the face of great adversity. Stand tall, trust Yah. He is in control.